Welcome to another So You Woke Up podcast, and I'm here with Pete vs. Anxiety, and we are going to have another conversation on what it's like to live outside of the matrix, to live outside of what we are supposed to do, what we were programmed to do, all those things. And so I would love to know, what is your story? You can pick whatever you want. What story is it that you had that woke you up, that made you be like, I can no longer live in this fake bubble of whatever it is?
All right, so I had a podcast. I originally started when I started playing around podcasting called Pete's Corner Store. Okay, so season one was just me talking about things that go on and the things I've dealt with. Okay, so that got a lot of views. All right, so the next season, I was like, okay, well maybe I'll bring in a co-host. All right, and this is where shit turns to the worst. We got into such conversations as I adopted a Fortnite kid. Something about how she got kidnapped, or one guy had come on and told us that he got kidnapped, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, listen, I went home with this one guy one time, and he had a bunch of drugs at his house and left me his business card. Said, hey, yeah, come on back over." And we were like, "What?" And it got outlandish to the point like we were being real sexual at one point, and my wife did not appreciate that conversation when it came up, and things like that. So as we progressed to season three, we were already having friction because we brought in a third person, and kind of made it like a group table discussion. We still brought in some guests sometimes, depending on what it was. We did a Pride episode. We brought in somebody, the Pride community kind of touched that subject. And when we hit men's mental health, where I started waking up to, like, this is a real thing. Like when you look at the statistics, men in my range are the second most likely to take their own lives. And if you look at it now, it's 80% of them. So if you think about it this way, you have 5 friends. 3 of those friends probably aren't going to be there because they're going to take their lives by suicide. Now, which ones? You don't know. So I start like digging in the back of my head, and I have my own mental health issues I hadn't dealt with at this time either, and I had like had an incident with my wife where I just went off on her for no reason, and then I like all of a sudden whatever she said, she just said okay to me. It just hit me, and I was like, whoa, hold on, I don't like this feeling. So I went to talk to a therapist, and then while I was doing the therapy thing, I decided to part ways with the other people because we were at the point where it was just like, I'm putting all the effort into this and these guys aren't doing anything. They're like, well, I don't take this serious. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to do something serious. So since you all don't want to be here, cutting you off, took a month off and was just sitting there wondering what I want to do. So then I was looking at this picture my wife had made me. And it was me doing some goofy pose that she had stylized and everything. So that was the original logo of the show, actually. So, and then it hit me one day. It was just like Pete versus anxiety, because I battle my anxiety every single day. And anybody that knows what anxiety's like, and know that you don't know what it's like your thoughts start racing your head like Sonic the Hedgehog and just go, you take off, man. And you'll take an idea and you'll grasp it. And that idea will just keep building. And all these other scenarios will start building, and you'll start assuming that these things are real in your head, and it's an eternal struggle every day. So, like, I could be okay some days, and other days it's worse. And then my depression feeds into my anxiety as well sometimes too. So some days I'm really in the dumps. So it's like, what about this? So I put the idea out there, and it was funny because the way it worked is within the next 3 days, someone had reached out to me saying, "Hey, listen, I got a new podcasting network. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I'm like, me? I was like, dude, I don't even have anything recorded for this thing yet, but okay, sure, why not? Is this real? Like, at first I didn't think it was real because, you get all these messages from people say they want to do things for you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I met the man, Tom, really cool guy, works for Oracle Talk Radio Network, which I'm a part of now. And he was like, yeah, hey, man, we got a newer one. We're trying to get these smaller podcasters heard more, so we're trying to build a network of smaller podcasters. That way their message can be heard around the world. Me and my co-host have a show that has massive popularity. We weren't liking the network we were working for, so we just started our own. I was like, okay, cool. So
That's how
I
it
did
happened.
some early recordings, though. If you all want to listen to them, they are out there on another Spotify page. You just have to look up Pete D. That's what they're under, because I had to change hosting sites because I was using, was it Podbean originally? And then I switched to another one after that because I was like, I didn't like that. I went back to where I'm now, where I get monetization. But there's some crazy ones in there. I've had a Columbine shooter on, and this is early on in the show. I had Columbine shooter, international bestseller was on there, and a bunch of other things. And now where I'm at now, it's just like I was telling you before we hit record, it was just within the first 2 weeks, the show was already to the end of the year. Like, I'm already up to December, already booking it for people in the show and everything like that. And I'm like, holy crap, there's a demand for this. So, like, let's open another time slot, 3 p.m. So then after that, shot to the end of the year. And I was like, okay, well, this is interesting because I didn't know what to do at this point. I'm like, holy crap, I got all these people that want to talk to me. And there's still massive more. Like, there are about 100 more people that were in my inbox just hitting me up for things. And I was like, I was getting overwhelmed. So in November, I found a digital calendar So I was like, all right, well, I got a digital schedule. This work out. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I'm out to July of 2025 already booked. And people are like, really? I'm like, I can't make this up for you. It was March a day ago, then it was April, and then we hit July, and people are just looking at me like, holy crap. I'm like, you're telling me. And this is Monday, mind you. We haven't added any extra days yet on Monday. So, and then at the beginning of the year, I decided to add more days. And now I was up to like 5 days a week until recently I decided to change my recording schedule up a little bit. So now it's like only I'm going to bulk record them like I was telling you, and then we'll distribute it from there because it's just too much. Like I'm working an overnight job and I'm coming home recording all these episodes during the day. So like Mondays and Tuesdays are usually my time window I have to get stuff done. So I'm like, all right, I'll just switch it like that. But it's been a crazy demand. And we've had some oh shit moments. We had a guy tell us that he literally was going to kill himself that morning on the show right before he got on the show. He literally described it to us. Hey, Pete, can I tell you about this? I said, yeah, man, what's up? And he's like, he starts going, well, I was sitting at the edge of the bed with my gun in my hand and I was thinking about taking my life, and I'm just like freaking out. Mentally, I'm freaking out. On the screen, I'm holding a stone cold face going, oh shit, this guy is serious. And he was like, and it was the first time we've ever had that incident happen where like something got really out of hand. Oh, no, okay. The second week of the show did get wild too, though. The woman told us she was dead for 5 minutes to describe what death was like, and she was like, oh yeah, it was like a light in the room, light telling me not to go to the light. It's not my time. Mind you, this woman's had 16 rounds of chemo, has no digestive system hardly at all. How it makes sense, I have no idea. She's like barely hanging on to life, and she's still here. And it was so inspirational because she's still here and she's still just living her life, and some days are worse than others, but she still keeps a bright spirit. And the show is just like, it's evolved in its own thing, man. Now, like, man, I've had everybody on there. I've had top rated podcasters, things like that come on, and it's been interesting conversations to say, because mental health isn't talked about. If I don't care what anybody says, not talked about. I don't care what you say. It is not talked about, especially men, especially, and I didn't want to do just one topic. I wanted to keep all topics because I'm like, let's talk about everything. So to date, I've only turned down about 5 people for the show. Everything else I've taken on. I'm like, let's go for it, and it gets interesting as we go, so.
Yeah, and so do you feel like this is something that has helped you and your like mental health and your way of going towards things? Because it seems like I believe in things happening for very much a reason. Like, I mean, a huge reason. So it's like like catalysts that happen to you. And even if it doesn't sound like some other people's catalyst, it was a catalyst for you that made you be like, oh, I'm talking to my wife this way. Oh, I don't like this. I'm going to go try therapy. Then you found all these facts and all these things. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is this thing. And now you're having this podcast that has so many guests, so many things. I mean, wild and people coming on, saying these are the things, like real life shit on here, and you're over here. And do you realize, and you are a space holder for this, for people who do this, and people who are space holders have to be careful because we actually can, take people's stuff. But the fact that we provide that for people to have this, especially mental health being such a, I guess I want to say, like, pushed under the rug thing. Like I was telling you about how it's like, oh, this is how it's going to be forever, or, this is a medication you can never get off of it. We don't want to help you actually like live life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the scary part, though, of it, is that it's exactly what you just said right there. They push it under the rug. They blame mental health. Mental health gets blamed all the time. School shootings, blame mental health. Everything else, blame mental health. It's like you blame this problem, but you don't want to solve the problem. So where's the help for this? And then recently I met somebody who came up with this site called the helphub.co, which is phenomenal. I suggest anybody listening that if you need help or you know somebody needs help, go to the helphub.co. It literally has everything you want, all in that space for you. This woman had spent all this time, and Lisa Sugarman is actually the one that created it, and she's got like, God, I couldn't even, her title, listen, literally the title of her episode was like too many hats to list, because she had so many things going on, but she does so many. But to answer your question, yes, it's been a change. If you watch from episode 1 to where I'm now, the evolution of Pete is happening right before your eyes, because later on, I beat an energy healer before the beginning of this year, and she was talking to me, and then I realized that I'm sensitive to energy. Like, I was wondering why I always had this kind of weird spider sense like feeling of things when people get around me, and I always didn't couldn't figure out what it was and pinpoint it was. So then I figured out I'm an empath as well. So then I have to be careful of that too, because there were some weeks, some days where I was taking on too much. I was like, I had a real intense conversation. I'd end the episode, I go take a nap, come back for the next episode. After that, I'm really just exhausted and drained and things like that too. But at the same time, I'm learning so much more about myself as I go because these other people are talking. There's
Oh
another
yeah.
woman I met. What's her name? Leslie Turner. Her and I were talking, and it was interesting because I was interviewing her, but then it turned to her interviewing me because she was so fascinated by me, in the middle of the episode. Because I don't say much about myself, and really not a lot of people know a lot of the whole story of me. Like some people know little bits I say, and things like that too. But it's just interesting because everybody was asking me about me. Like, what about Pete? Like, we don't know anything about you, and so that's the whole point. It's not about Pete. This is about you guys. I'm holding space for you all to talk. I'm like, you can ask me questions. I'll answer them, but I'm
Yeah.
very limited to what I say because, and now I'm to the point I just don't care anymore. I'm gonna write a book and just piss everybody off. I don't even care what I say in it at this point because at this point I feel like I'm the voice of the voiceless. And like I was telling you, I was doing this side project now I'm starting. It's called The Voice of the Voiceless. Now, if you have a story you want to share, but you don't want your name to be heard, or you don't want to say it yourself, I'll read your stories for you, and I'll just name it. I'll end the title, end it. Voice of the Voiceless, meaning that your voice is out there, but you don't feel confident enough to have your name being heard. Which I understand that. I get a lot of those people I approach about the show are like, yeah, I don't know how I feel being on a podcast, having my name set out there and sharing these stories. Like a lot of sexual assault survivors are like that too. They're like, ooh,
Yeah.
and
Oh
I
yeah.
get that completely. It's a hard topic to talk about. And all I'm trying to do is make sure that other people feel like they're not alone out there because I think that's the number one reason a lot of people have is just they feel like they're all alone by themselves and they don't know, if anybody else is out there with them. And when you find there's other people out there, then it's like, oh, okay, well now I feel good because now I don't feel like I'm the only person dealing with all these issues. And we've tackled pretty much every issue possible I think so far. The only thing we haven't gotten into was like cutting and things like that too. So and things like that. But we'll get across when it comes across those topics. But it's been an interesting ride so far of just the things that you find out about people. Like some people you find out have BPD didn't even realize they even have that. And it's interesting to get their perspective of like how they deal with it because every person deals with it the same way. And if I could tell you guys anything, it's if you read a book, you're looking at what symptoms could be there. It's not the exact symptoms will be there because some of these people don't experience those things. Like
It
Alzheimer's, a
could
lot
be
of people say they hallucinate.
individualistic.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, they say people hallucinate. Not correct because I had a gentleman on that has Alzheimer's. He had schizophrenia. I'm sorry, he has schizophrenia, and he was like, everybody kept telling me I hallucinate, but he doesn't. His was a little bit different, but it was an interesting conversation, needless to say.
Yeah,
And
and everyone's different, but in the spiritual community and the stuff like that too, there's a big thing is that we're not separate.
mm-hmm,
So we're not separate from anything. So when you think about it, a part of mental health, I believe in that because I'm a very spiritual person. When you believe in that is that it's made to make the individual feel separate. So one of the first steps of coming back is whether you are in this with somebody else and you find somebody else is going through what you're
yeah,
going through, and then that person can help. I mean, we've seen people when it comes to like AA or whatever, or like narcotics, like they'll find somebody in there and then they will be sober and they will both go and grow into this thing. But why did they meet? They met because they were both really raging alcoholics.
right,
And then they do that. So like, let's say these people with mental health, they meet. And I really believe that there's a way too, to like people have these things that people can get better, right? You
yeah,
can get better because one of the mental health things too, they tell you, you can't get better. You can't get better. And when you find somebody else who has gotten better or has had what symptoms that you've had and has overcome, oh my gosh, you met that person and then you're like, oh, what have you done? And they share
yeah,
with you. And then all of a sudden you're doing better. And then another person brings them better. But when the person thinks that they are the only one going through what they're going through, then it becomes their truth. It becomes the truth that no one else can understand what I mean. And what does that go to? Suicide. Because
yeah,
they're so alone. It's like, why not just go?
yeah,
So what you're doing in the scope of everything is, even with your book, with having every rainbow mental health thing under the sun on your thing, provides it that like this is real, like this is stuff, you are not alone.
yeah.
Let's do something about it. Let's do
Exactly.
something about it. Like,
It's a call to change. It's a call to have the conversation about mental health. It's
because
like,
the conversation has to come before you even, just like somebody, it's like they refuse to go to therapy for so long, and then they go to therapy, they're like, oh crap. I believe that you shouldn't stay in therapy you should figure out what's going on in therapy and then fix it after that. But like, if you don't, then you're not figuring out what's going. There's
yeah,
steps to that, and some people don't realize that there are steps. They want to be like, oh, here's here, I want to be here, without doing the middle part. And some of the things in the world would rather have us not do the middle part, because it keeps us here.
yeah,
It keeps us asleep. It
yeah,
keeps us doing the same thing, same cycles, same medications, same
yeah,
conversations, same
yeah.
thing.
And it's crazy though. It's because we allow it to happen. Like, we need to start
Hmm.
calling call for change now. Like, we need to start lobbying for these things. Like, we need help now because we're losing people at an alarming rate. And
Hmm.
it's crazy though, because it's like people go, oh, well, he was happy the other day. That doesn't matter. That's actually the last sign for a lot of people are going to kill themselves. They're overly happy. If they start getting really overly happy, you should really be concerned a little bit, because you don't know what that person's state of mind is. Like, and you could sit there and look for the signs all day, but at the end of the day is that this person chose not to talk to you, or maybe they did try to talk to you, because I've had a situation where that happened, where I was live. Somebody had told us a story about how she was reaching out to that person and says, oh, hey, call me. Well, she called the person blew her off basically. And even though she's like, hey, I need to talk to you, 911 kind of thing, that basically still blew them off. It's like, when you tell somebody to call you and they call you, be prepared for that conversation to get ugly quick. You never know what's going to be said. So don't panic, first off. Like, whatever you do, don't start panicking when they start talking about, they thinking about killing themselves. Let them talk. Get them talking, because at least understand what they're dealing with. Now, if it gets to the point where, you're getting nowhere with just listening to them, now
Yeah.
you need to dial 988 on the other line and get them to somebody, because 988 has all the people that are trained for this kind of thing. I'm not an expert. I have people come to me all the time telling me, Pete, I'm thinking about killing myself. Okay, well, talk to me first off. Calm down. Let's talk. What's up?
Well, sometimes they want to talk. Sometimes they just need to have someone to hear
Yeah,
them
exactly.
and get out of their own head that's telling them these things. And sometimes that's the only thing that they need, is the thing. And then there's others, like you said, call, but they
Yeah.
have the thing of like, when they reach out and it's like, they want that thing, and some people will be like, oh, whatever. And it's like, sometimes a person needs that, and depending on the thing, I mean, like, I do know that sometimes if someone continues to do it, then you're going to have to get them
Yeah,
other help. You
definitely.
can only hold so much. But yeah, sometimes I've noticed that, where some persons just need someone to just listen, not be like, what do you mean you're going to kill yourself? What are you doing? You're so selfish. You're so, no, no, no. They just need someone to listen to them. And sometimes it's just the listening, because then they start talking, right? And then they're hearing themselves and they're like, oh shit, what did I just say? And then they talk themselves out of it, because somebody actually let them hear what they're saying, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I actually don't want to do, you know what I mean? Like, so you're right, providing that open space of like, okay, I hear you, why,
Yeah,
tell me
yeah,
more.
because a lot of
Like,
times just letting it out of your head, it gets the thought out of your head and out the open. Just like you said, it looks stupid after you look at it. I do that sometimes too. I'll text my wife random statements, and she gets a little mad sometimes. But it's just like, I've got to get this thought out of my head, and I feel like this is the
yeah,
safest person to tell.
yeah,
And it's just like, it doesn't end well sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's just a thought going through my head, so it's already out there. But it's like, I got
yeah,
to get this thought out of my head, because I got to look and see how stupid it is. And even if you start writing it down like a journal, start writing your thoughts down in a journal, go back and read them and look at what exactly it is. Sometimes you realize how dumb it actually sounds. You're like, oh my god, this is what I'm thinking at this point. And
like, there's a thing of like, this doesn't sound right,
mm-hmm.
like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
this does not sound right, but why does it sound so right in here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why,
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, I dealt, in the mental health system for 20 years, like, and I'd be like, this doesn't, make sense. But then there's so much stigma around it too, where it's like, oh, because you have mental illness, you have, like, these things just happen, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes
No.
it's something else, or if you're an empath, it's somebody else's thought. It ain't even yours.
An
So,
interesting thing too, I found out recently. I had a birth chart read. In case anybody's never had this done, I suggest y'all do it, because it's very interesting. I always wondered why people would come up to me and tell me things like, I'm telling you their deepest, darkest secrets. They come up and just
yep,
start blurting it out.
I do
According to
too.
my birth chart, it actually says in there that that's what it is. I have some, for whatever his position is making it happen, is that people have this want to come tell me things. And one
Hmm.
guy, he came and told me about his friend who unfortunately lost due to a shooting incident. He was in the car, car drove past him, didn't realize these guys were getting ready to shoot his friend, went back, shot this guy to death. He went over and saw his friend, okay? So he came in the store where I was working, and I was looking at him like, dude, you good? And like, and we know each other, but we don't know each other. And like, we know each other on a first name basis. That was it. So I was like, hey, man, you good? And then he tells me that story, and I said, dude, are you okay? He's like, no, I'm not okay. And they started blurting it out completely. Got it off his chest and goes, you know, you're the only person in 4 weeks that's asked me if I'm okay. Even though he's at home with other people at home, and they're all like, oh, you know, giving him a hard time about how he needs help. Well, get the man some goddamn help. Stop criticizing him and give him some fucking help because he needs it. This poor guy.
Right?
And then I saw him recently too, and he said, I've been avoiding it because I don't want to tell you anything of what was going on because I'll feel bad. So he came in and told me that he just lost the kids or whatever, and he was talking about going over there and shooting somebody, then shooting himself. And I'm like, dude, you got to think about what you're doing. This is just not worth it. You're gonna go do this. You'll feel good at the time if you did it, but then what is the end result of this thing gonna be? You're gonna lose the rest of your life, man. You'll be in prison for the rest of your life, and you won't be able to see him anyways. It won't matter at this point. You know, you'll see him through a piece of glass if you're even lucky, depending on what the situation comes out to be. You know, and it's always strange because people would always come tell me strange things. And it's not the first person who told me something to execute. One guy came in and told me 5 minutes prior to walking the store, he lost his son. And I was like, holy shit, okay, this got real interesting real quick, you know? But it was really strange that people just start telling me things. And then when I did the birth chart reading, it got interesting because it's like, oh, well, you're here in the public speaking space, like, you know, podcasting, things like that. So that's why it felt so natural. And I just kept having this want to do it because I always said I wanted to do a podcast. And I started the first one. And I started doing it, you know, had a little fun with it, you know, but now I got to this one, I took it a lot more serious. I have a microphone, I have all the arm, yeah, I got all this stuff, and actually all this stuff was donated to me, to other people that believed in what I'm doing. You know, the laptop I'm using now was donated by the guy that does the sound to me, because he had an extra, and he was like, here, man, let me get you something better. You know, told me about all the mic upgrades I need. I'll get all the mic upgrades for this stuff, and it'll make your sound a little bit better and things like that too. You know, and you know, all this stuff and all these people that believe in everything I'm doing, and I was amazed because I didn't know half these people are even watching. My own brother, he's watching, and most of my family members watch. Actually, now watch most of the episodes and things like that too. And they've donated lights and the screen back there. You know, you normally have a full setup, but during the summer it's a little rougher for me, so that's why we're looking a little less than what I normally do. But you know, it is what it is. A lot of my guests don't even care. They're like, okay, whatever, we don't care. We're here to talk to you. We ain't worried about your setup.
That. It's not about it's just about with like everything. It's when you do it from the heart and you don't try to do it from perfection. That's where.
Oh no, there's nothing perfected about this show at all. Let me tell you, I go into this thing. I don't even edit some episodes, honestly. I've been releasing raw copies of things, depending on what the conversation is, how strong the conversation is.
Yeah, and that's good though, because what has this world come to? A very polished thing.
Yeah.
People want the raw. And when you post, like this podcast that I do is very raw. I barely edit. It's just conversations. And sometimes people can feel like they're sitting in the room with you. They're like, oh, this is a real conversation. Oh, this hasn't been doctored. This hasn't been, you know, whatever. This is actually a real thing.
I have no pre-plans. The way I prepare, I look at something maybe 20 minutes beforehand, depending on what it is. If it's a book, somebody sends me a book, I'll skim through the book, take some notes, things like that. That way I can ask some questions towards the book, you know, kind of thing. Well, I get everybody to know the person first, and then we move towards where they're there for, you know, the book or whatever else, or just general conversation. I keep it very casual. I don't do that whole TED Talks and all this other kind of thing. I can't do all that. I'm just not the type.
They talk
person.
so fast too, and I'm like, wait, how do you remember all those facts?
Right, exactly.
You know
I'm just
I mean?
like, I don't have time for all that. I like to keep it very casual. And there's some episodes where you'll watch some of the guests, they'll start opening up to you, like warm up really well. So there was a girl from the UK. She and I were talking, and at first she's really closed off, and then 30 minutes in, she just opens up and just starts getting real bubbly and starts telling people all these different things about herself, and you know, and things like that too. And it's great though, because like, and then I'll go do the only most research I'll do for some of these people. I'll go listen to some of the other shows they've been on to try and avoid questions they've had.
Okay.
So you know, and things like that too. You know, like if it's different. If I bring them in for a book, it's obviously we're going to talk about the book. Like Susan Snow and I had a conversation. Holy shit! If I tell you this out, guys, I almost started crying, man. She was like, I'm like, girl, you tugging at my heartstrings. I'm feeling this. And it was rough. It was twice. I just started choking up. And then there's like other times I've had spiritual experiences where one woman I met, Sherry Ann Boyle, she, I and I were talking about this entity spirit. She has like 12 published books. And mind you, Sherry doesn't have a writing background at all. She said that something
Yeah.
she tapped into just
It
channeled through
just,
her, and she started writing this book. So in the interview, if you watch about, I think it's about 30 minutes in, you'll watch me just freeze completely as she's reading something to me out of a book, and I'm just sitting there staring at her. And then after it happens, you'll notice something happening, because all of a sudden I get up and go, oh God, hey, what do we do? Hey, listen, I gotta tell you what happened. This is the craziest thing. And like, I start freaking out because I'm like, oh shit, because everything around me completely didn't matter. And everything went silent completely as I was focusing on exactly what she was saying to me. And I'm sitting there
hmm
listening to her, and it was just like, you watch me go completely blank for a minute, and then I jump up and I just start going completely crazy because I'm like, dude, let me tell you what happens. And she just smiles because she knew what happened. Like, she had an idea, she had a feeling. She's like, oh yeah, that was spirit talking to you. And I was just like, and it's so interesting because before I started the show, I didn't know about half of this stuff even existed. As soon as I got to energy healing, I was like, all right, let's go. And then
Let's go.
Melanie actually is the energy alchemist. That's what she called herself when we interviewed. She was really cool. She's the one that brought me into the whole space and started talking about it. And then I started getting more people, and then the universe started putting more people on the path that are energy healers. And we just kept connecting one by one and started learning different things from everybody as we go, you know. And it was really interesting because it's like, you know, talk therapy was what everybody sent you to, but there's this other modalities you can use, you know, that are a lot more effective, that people have proof that work too. Hell, I had a woman who was talking about she had lupus, and she used the horses to get out of the wheelchair, basically. You know, and it's a story to hear. I was like, this is crazy. She's like, yeah, you know, I connected with the horse, and eventually, you know, I started walking, even though they told me I couldn't. There was another guy, Larry Bolt, who
Yeah.
did a book called The Magical Mind Shift. They told him he wasn't going to walk again. He had a stroke, and he basically was paralyzed from the neck down. And Larry defeated the odds. He literally got his hand to come up, and he said, my hand stopped up here in its motion like this. And he's like, I stopped to look at it. He's like, he's like, I know I can do this. And then now he's fully speaking now. You know, he's still working on his speech, you know, and things like that a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit. But, and there's another guy I had, he said that he was working, and all of the best thing he remembers is that was it. So what happened is the shelf came down. He was crushed his skull between the ground and where he was. And luckily where he was at was like a sandy kind of thing, so or else he would have been dead. But he squeezed
Yeah.
his, and now he had to relearn how to talk completely, learn how to talk, learn how to write, everything like that. Can you just imagine what that's like? One day you're working, you're doing everything great, you're going good, and then all of a sudden next day you wake up and have no idea what just happened. You know, these are the stories that people share with me on this show, and it gets wild as we go, man. And it's
Yeah.
crazy though, because he didn't have any mental health issues beforehand, and now he does now. So you know, and it's just like,
Well, it's a fear thing. Well,
mm-hmm,
I mean, and it will come back, but I want to backtrack to what you were talking about, how like the spirit thing and the modalities of this of the healing that comes from different modalities, because if you get deeper and deeper with mental health,
mm-hmm,
you start to realize that things are coming from trauma, things are coming
yep,
from other things, and therefore, and if anybody believes everything is energy, then these are energy things. So it's like, for me, how, you know, I had bipolar for 20 years, and then I used EFT tapping and, you know, modalities and healing modalities, stuff like that, and I got rid of it. So it's like these things, like I said before, like these stages to these certain things, but at the end of the day, it's like knowing that these things are there, that there's more than what
yeah,
you've been told.
yeah,
And certain things work for, like, some people, horses will heal somebody. Sometimes a cat will heal you. Sometimes
yeah,
a Reiki practitioner can heal you. Sometimes that one crystal that you found on the floor, all of a sudden you're walking again. Like, these things are real, but
yeah.
what we've been taught is to not believe them.
That
And
or there's
so,
other really scrutinized, or they call them hippies and things like that too. You know, all that other stupid shit they say. It's
yeah,
just,
or it's like, it's yeah, the hippie, it's like, well, it can't be. And it's like, or if you're too positive about things, they're like, oh, you can't, you know, do that either. And it's like, sometimes you can think your way right back into bliss.
yeah,
And people don't, you know, just like, I'm like, haven't you seen yourself think your way into hell?
yeah,
Why don't you think you can't think your way into heaven?
exactly,
Like, and all these stories that you have of these people, and they're all different.
yeah,
Everything I've heard you say, everything is different
yeah, oh
for
yeah,
this. But at the end of all that, it is a human, another human being. Like, why is this so difficult for me? And I would like it to not be. What do I do? And some of them choose this path, and then some of them choose this path.
yeah.
But with you, what you're doing too is you give them the space to start the path, to even open their, just like the girl you said, she was like, I don't know, she's like 30 minutes into the thing, and all of a sudden she like let go, and she was like this stuff like that. It could have been like she didn't even know she could do that, but
Yeah.
she did, and now she can't go back because she knows.
Oh, she knew.
So
You could see the look on her face and know she knew that something had happened, and she just
just
smiles
like,
by the time going off, And I'm just going in this complete ramble about what happened, and she just starts smiling like she knew what's going on.
yeah, and
That's the interesting thing is, so you interact with these people. That's the idea of the show too, is to introduce these other things to people. Psychedelics, people using psychedelics for these reasons. All these different things that are out there. Like talk therapy doesn't have to be your one-stop shop. If it
yeah,
don't work for you, there's about 10 different people out there plus that can help you with anything else you want. Here's how you find them, kind of thing. And it's great
yes.
to learn what they do too, as you
Because
go.
we're all, even if we're not separate, we're all different. I was literally talking about this outside today with my husband about like, just because, and that's why sometimes in the coaching industry, stuff like that, sometimes it doesn't work when someone gives you A to Z of how to work for them, and then you do it and it doesn't work for you, and you're like, wait, what happened? And it's because you really have to give yourself that thing of like, okay, this didn't work for me, what does? Or this part of it does. Like,
Yeah.
keep going, keep finding the way for you. And it doesn't make you bad or wrong or weird or dumb. It just means that, I mean, we're like, they say we're as individualistic as snowflakes, which are completely individualistic.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I do believe we are all part of one thing, but when you come to Earth is a dualistic, that's a word. Like it has the polarity, so it has the up and down, like it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, and here, individualistic qualities come, even when it comes to male and female. Like this stuff. Like here, it's not really separate, but it appears separate in these things, and that's what you've come to Earth to learn, is to realize what's going on and to use the individualistic things that you have gotten when you chose Earth School and to figure it out. And most people put themselves in a cage, especially mental health. And I'm sure you've heard it through all this stuff. They're like, but they told me that I had to go to therapy. They told me I have bipolar disorder and I can't use psychedelics. They told me this and this and this. But I started microdosing and my life is completely different and I'm not crazy. It's like, oh. So it's like, busting it through and giving the people the way of being able to find their niche, their way, their right door.
I think you hit on that when you said your niche, whatever works best for them. And that's the whole thing is that there's so many things out there. It may look weird to everybody else, but if it works for you, that's what really matters. At the end of the day, fuck everybody else. It doesn't matter.
Right?
Like kind of thing like that too.
Better. If it's making you better, then and
exactly.
I always say this too, as people will be like, oh, but what about, my things? I'm like, let me tell you something about an empty cup. If your cup is completely empty, you're giving nothing. I just love how there's so many things in the background. There is there is
a party
nothing
over here.
there is nothing that you can do. So let's say you have this empty cup and you're pleasing everyone, whatever, and it is just bleh. But let's say you start filling, not in the asshole, well, don't be a dick, but you start filling your cup. You start doing your own things. Your cup is like filling and filling. And guess what happens? Your cup starts filling over. And then the people around you start seeing, just like let's say you're the only one in the family doing work, right? And you're like, okay, you know what? Fuck the whole family. I'm going to start filling my own cup. I'm going to start making sure that I'm okay. This is what works for me. And then you start getting better. And then they see you getting better. And they're like, excuse me, please share your wisdom. And it's like, oh, it's because you are overflowing. And people, I have to say, don't be a dick. Because some people will run with it and be like, well, it's all about me and whatever. And it's like, yes, it really is. But is what you're doing actually benefiting you, or are you this is where the shadow work comes in. I don't know if anybody's talked to you about the shadow work. The shadow, of like, are you doing it, or are you doing it because it's pissing off your mom? You're doing it because it's, you know what I mean? It's like that kind of work. Fuck them.
Yeah,
and
basically what the depth is, just fuck them is basically the idea. It's just like, I don't care. And then it's funny though, because my family members come to me and go, well, you sound really intelligent. I've listened to your podcast. Maybe it's because I've had things to say, but being the middle child, you all didn't listen to what I had to say, And then I had this unsettled rage. I couldn't figure out what was causing the problem, which was that my mom abandoned me when I was 10 years old in my dad's doorstep at his apartment. over some stupid fucking argument we had, and I just like she was very controlling too. Then I find out later on she's very narcissistic. If you think about the things that she was doing, she's trying to control my life and everything else, and I just don't want to be controlled. And I just said,
Yeah.
fuck it. I was tired and I fought against the whole thing, and she didn't like that, so she would drop me off over there. Now, did I know it was going to cause all these problems I had throughout my life all the way up to this point? No, because I have really bad rage issues. Anytime I felt like somebody was going to leave, I go into a complete panic mode and start freaking out,
Yeah. And there's a shadow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like, at this point, it's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. If it pisses you off, well, it's going to piss you off. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, everyone's a mirror. So
Yep.
let's say you do something. Okay, let's say you do something that's like parents, or they don't know, and then they're getting mad. It's because you are showing them something. Most of the time it's like you're doing something that they want to do, or it's inconvenience to what they think that they want, and so they do that. And that's, most people aren't aware of that. And so it's like, you really using the fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want actually benefits you.
Yeah.
Than trying to please the person who can't be pleased because they will not do their own work to fix why they're mad.
Yeah.
It's like, you've made me mad. I'm like, I'm sorry, I haven't made you mad. You made yourself mad, because the only person who can make yourself mad is yourself. And they're like, what the fuck? Yeah. So it's like,
Right? Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, by doing that, I mean, going through, realizing that your mom, being as crazy as she was,
Yeah.
probably didn't know any better, but that doesn't mean
Oh, she
that
knew.
you have,
She knew because she
have
was
to
told when I left that she's the one that had coping issues. She was trying to tell a therapist I had the issues, and took me to a therapist when I was younger, and tried to tell you that it was me that was having the problems, but it was her. But when it found out she was having the issues, oh no, forget that. She was not happy. Went off the rails completely. Just did not like
well,
it
yeah, she
whatsoever.
went off the rails because probably her parents treated her the same way.
Yeah.
So she treated you like that. And when you were like, no, she's like, wait, I actually dealt with this my entire life. Why are you not dealing it like I did? And you were breaking a chain, which she didn't like. So it's like, it's,
Yeah.
I feel like our parents did their best with what they had.
Yeah.
And,
No, I agree with that 100%. I mean,
and now it's our turn to be like, well, I'm not going to continue this crazy charade that you have.
yeah,
Obviously
exactly.
convince
No,
yourself
I
is the
agree.
thing.
I agree. It is exactly just that. They were told something different before, and now there's so much more we know now. It's the way you look at things differently now. Like kids under 4, we didn't know before that kids under 4 can understand a lot of these situations and what's going around. They may not be able to verbalize it to you, but they're watching what we're doing. They're watching you interact with each other and things like that too. And then they're going to take that and think that's how they should interact with people too. Because my
That's
mom
why I
and my
like
dad were like that as well. So
Well, they have the thing where, especially, how old are you?
I'm 40 now.
Yeah, see, I'm going to be 43, but like, I feel like your generation, I think from like our generation and a little bit older, their parents had the thing of, do what I say, not what I do.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And it's like, we're sitting here at 40 years old and be like, words are bullshit.
Exactly.
Like and it's like, you look at them and be like, oh, so you did all those things and now I'm doing them because my little self had no other idea, and you're mad at me for doing what you're doing. Well, I'm trying to
Or you'll
break
deny
this
it and be like, well, I never did that at all. That was
Oh,
the thing
my
too. I
God.
told my kids the stories about my mom. Like, yeah, your grandmother used to beat my ass all the time. No,
Yes.
I never did that. I'm like, lady, I was there for this. I remember getting the shit beat out of me a few times.
Yeah, and so it's like, I think it's our time now, because you have kids. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any kids, but I have a bunch of nephews and nieces, whatever. And I think it's for us now, what our thing is now, is these kids, and we know because we were kids, like we saw everything.
Yeah.
We soaked it all up.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we cannot be in denial anymore. I feel like it was easier for our parents to be in denial, especially my parents. They were, so I'm 43 and they're in their 80s because they adopt me at 40. So the gap there but I feel like especially even in the last 15 years, people becoming parents now, it's like you saw what the parents did. And there's so much media and stuff not like that shows you too, where it's like it just can no longer be this thing. So you can have a
Yeah.
parent who's like, I never did that, and you have to look at them in the face, be like, you know what, fine, I don't care if you didn't, but I'm not going to do it to my kids. So you don't win in
Yeah.
this weird battle you think you're having with yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's on to us. It's like we're showing those generations. And also it's like being 40, like being in our 40s now too, it's like a weird thing. We didn't have the internet. Now, there is
Mm-hmm.
like, and certain stuff. So we're like over here, like, we didn't have any distractions from our parents. We literally had like a TV and we had to run to the bathroom if there was a commercial and hope to God we got back in time. Now kids can pause it. Like, half the time they don't even hear what their parents are doing because
Right.
they're on their
Right.
tablets or whatever.
Or they got
So
they got tablets. Yeah.
they have a little bit of a buffer if their parents aren't trying, but it's like, it's like I think that's on us now. It's on us now to be those examples of those things, of seeing that and breaking that generation of the parents being like, I never did that. I'm like, well, if you blocked it out, great, but I didn't. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
paying for it now. But then, I'm a firm believer is that you have to give yourself the love that you didn't get, because trying to get it from your parents or from your caregiver or whoever raised you or who didn't raise you or whatever is never going to work. So you have to go into yourself. And that involves going into those shadows, feeling those stories, admitting that, yeah, I want to murder myself. I'm not going to do it, but I want to,
Yeah.
like saying these things out loud. And I think too, some of these people that would tell you these things, you provided this space of like, I feel safe enough to say, and that's what weird about that guy who wouldn't come in and tell you, because he knew that it wasn't what he really wanted to do. And if he came into your little orbit, he would have said the truth. He would have said it out loud.
Yeah.
You would have told him what he told him, and it would have put a nice little like bubble like a poke in his nice little bubble, which is what he needed, to be honest. But people are stubborn, to be fair.
Yeah.
So you maybe there's these certain people that are born in here, they're called like catalysts and certain things like that. And so it sounds like when people come to you and they talk to you and they tell you the wildest thing, you just look at them and you're like, well, your answer of like, well, you could do, bro, you of course could do that, but then you lay
Yeah.
out all the things.
Yeah.
And it's like at the end of the day, they can take that and and be like, oh, because most people, that if they would have told them, maybe would have yelled at them,
Yeah.
maybe would have done the certain things, like, you know what I mean? And they need someone to have the space. And especially when it comes to mental health, we have been yelled at enough
Yeah.
by the family, the peers, the TV, the certain therapists that are, whatever, that we need someone to be like, yeah, you definitely can do that, but let me tell you a different way, or let me hear why. Let me, that space to be like, and sometimes someone just needs to be told, not told they're crazy. They just need to be,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's what it is. They just need to be told they're not crazy. I think it's that, people get told they're crazy when they tell people they have mental health issues and different things like that, and it just gets wilder and wilder, and then it starts building in their head that they're crazy. I don't want to tell nobody about what I'm dealing with, or I'm hearing these voices. Oh, I don't want to tell anybody I'm hearing voices. When you really should be talking to somebody, that's the problem. That's the time to
yeah,
start saying something. Hey, I'm having these thoughts in my head that are telling me to do harmful things to myself, and seeking the help. And I think that's the craziest part, is where to find all of it and things like that.
yeah,
And it's like people don't know where to go. But now with Help Hub, which I just found out the other day about, it's amazing because you can address all these issues, and you can find what you need, and then it'll stick to what your, whatever your religion is too, like that, whatever things you can and can't do, it'll fall in those categories, That way
yeah,
you're not breaking whatever religion you're a part of. Is, big stigmas about things that you're not supposed to do certain things. So that's a great thing about it, though. But it's like beforehand, we didn't have anything. Nobody knew where to find these things. You'd have to go 20 different places to look for things. And even at that, you're still kind of like, well, where the hell do I even start these
where do
things?
I even start? Like, yeah, because
Yeah.
when I was diagnosed in 2001, there was nothing.
Uh,
I also believe too, there is a thing where a lot of voices, I feel like people with a lot of voices, they have angels or something like that.
yeah.
And then they think they're crazy. They're just hearing, or star beams or whatever you want to say. And then the harmful voices that are telling them to do the things, sometimes that right there can be an entity, or it could be just a certain parts in your aura or your chakras that are
Mm-hmm.
blocked that can make your stuff like it's all that way. And if that resonates in certain ways, and sometimes people find that they'll find the way to the way of that. But to me, I feel like a lot of the mental illness, a lot of all that stuff is literally just, I don't believe we're from here. I believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. Because
when it comes
you ever
through,
dig into past lives ever? You know, people talk about
yeah, yeah,
like during the star chart reading, the woman Carmen told me, she goes, "Well, in a past life you were a Scorpio." And I was like, "It's interesting because I'm a Cancer is what mine is now," but she's
I'm
saying I
Cancer
have a
too.
Scorpio soul. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." She said, "That's why you married a Scorpio," which my wife is a Scorpio. And my wife goes, "Well, that's why we argue a lot about things, huh? That's why we butt heads or some shit." She made some kind of smart ass comment. I'm like, "You know what? Fuck you, first off, all right?" And like, I
Yeah,
wonder what your
but
chart says, is what I told her afterwards. I was so fascinated. I still am, though. Like, I like astrology is something I'm going to dig into because Carmen's said she has a class in October I can take. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm down. Let me go check out and learn some more about this
yeah,
stuff. It's so
astrology is
interesting.
beautiful, a beautiful thing. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
these, and it's, but if it resonates, and it sounds like it resonates to
Oh,
you,
it was
that's
great.
my biggest thing. Where people, I'm like, if you're like, let's say someone's like, you're doing astrology, and everything in you is like, I don't want to, don't do it because
Yeah.
it's not going to matter to you. But if you everything like lights your tits up to the sky,
Yeah.
fucking go do it.
I
Yeah,
am.
and like,
It's interesting. It's so interesting how close it was to me, the person. And like, I didn't tell Carmen anything about myself prior to this
yeah,
conversation, and she started
oh
bringing up,
yeah,
"Oh, well, you have issues with your mom," or some things like these, and I'm just like, she's just reading this chart, and this chart is just revealing everything. And as we're going through, she's talking about the 12 houses, and whatever house falls in, and what everything falls in. When it hit to something I was in, she went into deeper detail about it, like, "Hey, yours is here. This is why." And we got real deep into why it was there, and it was very interesting to see because it's like, wow. I'm like, and I'm telling you, I'm like, I didn't tell her any of this stuff. She is telling you things that I don't have not told her at all. And this is just crazy because it's blowing my mind because I'm like, whoa, this is insane. You're reading this all off the chart alone,
yeah.
in different characteristic things. And I was like, this is so interesting. So she is actually going to come back. We're going to have another conversation about the individual star signs is the next one. We have not figured out a date yet, but as soon as we were done, I was like, yeah, let me send you that calendar back over. Let's go ahead and book this now.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like once people realize that it's not just like 3D stuff,
Yeah.
there's more out there, and there's more ways to combat what your human experience is throwing
Yeah.
at you. Is like that's the vibe to really just start to just get curious about it, to get into it, to just figure out and be like, okay, I actually don't like this weird sentence or this thing that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
I would like to figure out maybe some things and maybe pull out whatever the core is of it. So it's, I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone, do what they're gonna do, and just follow that part in your heart that knows. And seems like for you, it's like, I want to help people. I obviously have this way of letting people be themselves, and this is it. I feel like to you, since you've heard some spiritual stuff, it does kind
Yeah.
of pull at your soul
Yeah, because
as the
it is actually in
like
my
a
chart too. My chart is actually in the spiritual area too. If it gets to 10th house, if I remember right, it's where a lot of
yeah,
activity for me is at. Right in that 10th
yep,
house, it is just active like no tomorrow. Like there's a
yes.
lot of shit going on in there, and spirituality was one of the things that came up too.
Yeah, definitely. It's and it could have been like if you found it before now, it wouldn't have resonated.
Yeah,
You had to do other growth to get here. So that's and that's really cool because I always love it when people start to find out more of the spiritual or more of the other things that could help them. My advice to that though, or my wisdom to that would be like, just don't make it another like real identity, and to flow
yeah,
with
no,
what
no. I'm just
resonates.
interested in what it. I was just
Yeah,
interested in what it said. And somebody mentioned a human design plan. That's the next thing I'm going to look into and have
I'm
a
a generator. Yeah, I know a
do one of
lot about
those. Yeah,
human design. Yeah, do one
yeah,
of
yeah.
those.
Yes.
Human design is amazing. Like it really does help do this stuff too. And it's like something too. It's like it doesn't have to become your religion. It could just
No,
become
I'm
a
just
guide.
curious. I think it's more curiosity than anything, just kind of
Well,
like
it can also be a
ideas.
guide too, where you're like,
Yeah,
that actually resonates with me. It feels good when I do
yeah.
that. Obviously, I should follow that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know
That's
what I
how
mean?
I feel about astrology after I started learning all this stuff. It was interesting how much fell into the public speaking space now that I do a podcast now. And it was just like, it's funny that I'm doing one now, and this is what I discovered that I'm actually in the same space without even knowing this prior to that. And I use
Mm-hmm.
these little tools to see, like, I'm just curious in general because I'm just like, whoa, what
Yeah.
is this?
And it might blow your mind and it might change everything
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
better.
Yeah, and that's
You
what I'm
go in
thinking
it
too.
with the curiosity instead of like instead of like a need, like this needs to fix me.
Yeah,
Like when you do that and it doesn't, then but you go in with the curiosity
yeah.
or the beginner's mindset, then you can learn so much. And then you can integrate what you want and not what you want, like at the end of the day. So that's what I
Yeah,
always say.
and that's exactly the approach I'm taking. It's not to fix myself because this little thing has just been a journey in itself. Like every day I meet somebody new, I'm talking more and more about my own story, which I wouldn't do before. I think the hardest thing I deal with though is forgiving my mom for abandoning me. I think that's a one
Oh,
hump I can't get over, which I'm working
oh, it's
on, and that's
yeah.
it
Oh,
really.
it
But
is. It's a chipper.
yeah,
It's not like I'm gonna
yeah.
bang it. No, it's like you chip that.
Oh, well, I'm
You
telling you,
chip
I know.
that.
Trust me, I know. Because that's the biggest thing I deal with other than that. But yeah, I'm on a self discovery journey. Ever since I discovered, the energy sector of healing and things like that too, I've been so fascinated by it. And then
The
the
mother
universe,
wound.
and then the universe keeps putting people in my path that deal in these things too. And it's always the
The mirror
universe.
for you.
Yeah,
Yep.
basically, and it's just like the universe has got something it's trying to tell me by putting these people in my path. So I've been exploring these different avenues of things, and then astrology came in, and I was like, I know a little bit about it, but I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. But it was just like it blew
Oh
my
yeah.
mind there. I was
Oh,
like,
as far as you
oh,
can go. It's like,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah. No, this is
And to
really
have a
cool.
person who's got 12 books about astrology, a couple of them are, four of them are bestsellers too. Right there in
Yeah.
front of you is an avenue, an adventure, and it's always nicer because now you make a new connection because now you can reach out to them. Hey, I got a question. Da, da, da. And a lot of them, I
Yeah.
talk to a lot of them on a daily basis too, and things like that too. And we all get
Yeah. So it's
together.
just you're just building this thing, and you did it the way of like instead of forcing, you kind of just surrendered and been like, okay, let's just go, and I'll see where it takes me instead of
Right?
trying to force it, which it never works if you force.
Yeah.
It
No, I
never
agree.
does. Taking action on things does, but when you force it, to
Yeah.
choke it, and then it's like it's dead. All
Yep.
right, so I want to know what is your words or whatever of wisdom to anyone on this path that you would have to say at this time for anyone.
Guys, if I leave you with any nugget of knowledge, it's this: talk about your mental health. I can't say this enough. I can't scream enough. I can't write it enough. I can't tell you enough that you just need to talk about when you have something. You talking about it will give you the power to actually do something about it. If you do anything at this point, take care of yourself at the end of the day. Fuck what everyone else says to you. They call you crazy, da da da, whatever. Don't listen to them, okay? Because they don't know what's going on in your head. If you're having bad thoughts, reach out and talk to somebody. 998 is a great resource. Helphub.co. Go check it out, guys. It has everything you need to figure out where to start your journey. But for the love of God, please start talking, especially men. We are losing too many of us at a faster rate that we've got to do something about it now. We need to stop being a bunch of bitches or whatever terminology you want to fucking use. Stop being a pussy and start talking about your feelings. It's okay to say something. Call your best friend, call somebody and just talk to them. Hell, call me if you want to talk to me. I'm always open, guys. I am available on everything. You can think of X all the way down to TikTok, Spotify, on all her radio. You can hear me every single time. I'm always there. You can always message me and say, "Hey, Pete, I want to talk," and I'll listen to whatever you have to say. Now, if you start saying something that gets too far out of my realm that I can't handle, I will definitely refer you to somebody to talk to. But I'm always listening, no matter what, guys. And fellas, I do a men's mental health panel every month. I have one coming July 28th, 1 o'clock. If you all want to be a part of the next one for August, reach out. Let me know. I will let you get in
Yeah.
there. And this next one is going to be a very interesting one. I have a star-studded cast this time around. I have a younger guy named Note. He's an artist that's on TikTok that has a song that it says "Trust the Process." Is his song, and I reached out to him and I mentioned what I do, and he was so excited to come. I have him. I have Dave Morey, comedian coming back on for the second time, and a few other people that are coming too that I've just invited. So we're going to get together and start the conversation that men don't want to have, and we need to have. We make up
Yeah.
50% of the population. 80% of us are dying. You do the math. We're losing us at a faster rate than we can reproduce them. So, guys, we got to do something now, and now is the time to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really about that's like really good because it's like whether who you are, talk about it, do it. You are not alone.
Yeah.
You are
Definitely.
not
That's
alone. All
exactly.
right.
Listen to what she just said. You are not alone in this world.
You're
Trust
not
me.
alone. Doesn't matter who you are.
Exactly.
You are not alone. So, oh, this is such a good conversation.
It
I will
was
put
great.
our stuff in the show notes and everyone. And so, just stay tuned and, just keep, living your life and, reach out to those who are around. There is always someone. Just know that. So, I'm wishing everyone a beautiful now. Bye.
Bye.